You know, before I get into the meat of this video, there's a few things that I'd like to say up front. I understand that the topic that I'm going to be talking about right now might be unfamiliar to a lot of people in this particular audience, in this circle, but ultimately it is relevant to all of us, especially those of us who create videos, okay, who have been creating videos for a while, who intend to be creating videos in the future. And I should say a few things here, all right, that when I first started doing my videos, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, I was talking about a lot of social issues, things that I saw going on in the black community. There was a lot of things that I felt was urgent, and it still is. My methods have changed over the years, but in the beginning, I went very hard and very direct on what I thought were the problems within the so-called black community. To mixed results. I always talk through my passion, no matter what form it takes. All right, but I realized very early on that the pushback, when you tell the truth to the black community, I'd say probably the overwhelming majority of the time, you're going to be met with arguments and fights and misinterpretations and willful misunderstandings. Things that can really, really drive you nuts when you're trying to actually make a point. And people see to it to come in and twist your words around. And like I said, just misrepresent your whole position. So I realized that the direct approach might not be the most fruitful in my case, because I knew very, very early on that misunderstanding me is unacceptable. Like, I know it's going to happen. People just can't always understand what you're saying, and there's always going to be haters that want you to shut up, and things like that. But you have to wonder sometimes excuse me, I get allergies, especially in the morning. You have to wonder what you can do personally to try to minimize the frustration that you're getting, in terms of the feedback in your message, because all I can do is just change me. All I can do is control what I do and what I say. I can't change people's reaction to it. So I chose to go another route. Okay, it's the same message. If you guys have been watching me and listening to me for a long time, you know that I stay there are certain core messages that find its way into all of the topics that I talk about. You know what I mean? I don't have to list them. If you've been watching long enough, you know what they are and you understand. Okay. My message is not the same as everybody else's message that's out here. Okay. We're all different. It's not just me, but I'm just saying. Okay, so a lot of people have made that mistake, though. They've come here thinking that they're going to get the same message that they get on another channel or whatever for whatever reason, or they have a problem if it seems like I disagree with something that somebody else said somewhere else, in this entertainment geek space. Okay, but I'm very, very clear on my mission statement. Okay, but those early days, like I said, I had to realize that going hard and direct was a game left for others, who probably did it better or maybe just didn't care about the risk of being misunderstood and misrepresented. And I respect those guys. A lot of them were in that black YouTube space. And one of them, and one of the most powerful voices out there, was that of one Mr. David Carroll. Okay, David Carroll was a black YouTuber. I think he also went by the name of Michael Carroll. I don't remember his original handle, but David Carroll was his channel. The YouTube channel was David Carroll. Okay, and that intro that I did, by the way, was a tribute to him, because he began all of his videos by saying, I like to say a few things up front, you know what I mean, before I get started in his video. He would always say that, right? And he was known for wearing dark shades and smoking a cigar, excuse me, guys. Oh, I just got through walking the dog, okay? So this is why this is happening. The grass was just recently cut. So anyway, yeah, so he was out there and he used to tell like the hardest truth ever. He used to put it out there, and it used to be so raw And sometimes it was too raw for YouTube, so he created something called the Rabbit Hole Productions that you could only hear by sending him a request through email for a link to certain topics that he would talk about that he knew was going to get like crazy pushback on YouTube, you know, because YouTube only goes so far with the amount of truth that they will allow, you know, whether it's the bureaucrats or whether it's the viewers. You know, it's a rough game, you know, because you got trolls out here and all that stuff. So anyway, he would do that, and he would tell the truth about black women, you know, and he would tell the truth about black men. He would tell the truth about the black community, and a lot of truth was in that, you know. And but of course we know that truth hurts. So the pushback that he would get and the hatred that he would get was palpable, you know. And I mentioned David Carroll because this video is to actually pay respects to him, because I recently discovered that Mr. David Carroll has passed away. And I'm not sure what the circumstances and details were behind his passing. I imagine that for us on our level, it might not be that important. You know, the important thing would be his legacy and his message and the fact that he is no longer here, which is why I'm speaking out. And by the way, I am the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind is my intro, which has been since day one, which basically means that I'm telling you what I think about things. And I can't go forward knowing that this man is no longer with us without paying respects to him. Because like I said, for my regular viewers, you might not know him, but it is relevant that I talk about it, especially, like I said, for other creators, because the message that I'm giving here, right, is not directly related to the life and times of David Carroll, although I am paying my respects to him. The message is really, what legacy do you want to leave? You know, especially if you're putting a message out into the world. You don't have to be a creator to be putting a message out into the world. A lot of us, if we communicate with one another, we're leaving a legacy. If people know us or know of us or observe us, keeping in mind, you don't see everyone who sees you, you are definitely leaving your fingerprint in this world. And the ripple effects of your existence, it's going to be there, whether you know it or not. You know, so one of the things that I found remarkable about what's going on since the passing of David Carroll has been circulating is that people are bombing out his comment sections with the most disrespectful comments, you know, the most negative energy ever, you know. And you got a lot of people, of course, who are you know, legitimately saying rest in peace, you know, who are giving their condolences, who are showing love and respect. But it's overwhelming when you see how many people, and I have to say they're predominantly black women, who have a problem or had a problem with David Carroll's message and his delivery more so than anything, okay? Because I think his message ultimately was one of caring and concern for the black community. I think his delivery was probably more so what the problem was with a lot of these women, you know, whose feelings have been hurt, who I think are misinterpreting what the man was ultimately trying to do based upon his delivery. Keeping in mind, as someone who listened to David Carroll for years, I think he went infinitely harder on black men, you know, but I think that black men probably understood a little bit better where he was coming from. Maybe because we are men and it's a man talking to a man. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe women need to hear more truth from women than from a man when it comes to that critical edge. But I feel for the memory of David Carroll, because ultimately I do think that he was concerned, and I think he was trying to do something more. I think he wanted to see change. You know, I think he wanted to see black people do better. But for his legacy now to be lost somewhat in the haters, probably people who were never going to change anyway. So to be fair about it, I think he probably reached the people that were open to his message, people who would understand. The people who are not understanding, the people who are spitting on his grave, they were probably never going to get it anyway. But I just wanted to put it out there for me, because I think it means something when you lift your voice up into the conversation to try to make a positive change for everyone who you might have touched, to say, I received that. I heard it. Even in my space where I talk about predominantly pop culture, social phenomenon, things like that. I don't dive directly into and charge at the problems of the black community. My approach is a little bit different. You'll find me more so being defensive of the image of black people, the representation of black people the right way, because one thing I've said since the very beginning is I felt that ignorant people have had a voice for far too long. It's time for those who know better to speak up and to speak loud and to speak powerfully. All right. So that's always been my stance on this. Wherever I might land in the things that I discuss, I want it to be something that is well informed, something that is passionate, well meaning, and hopefully well received as much as I can control that. So when I look at the legacy of David Carroll and I look at the people who are going into his comment sections now and his videos that are still up, I say to myself, those of us who know better have to carry on his message. Maybe not his delivery, but the message that we can do better. And there's a lot of room for us to do better in every aspect of life as a society, because you have to address yourself as a community. You have to challenge yourself to be the best that you can be so that you can be positive contributors to the larger world and the larger community. Humanity. Join the human family. But first, you have to heal what ails you. And that sometimes that is very ugly. And sometimes it takes a hard voice to do that. And I salute David Carroll because he was one of those voices. He was one of the strongest, most loudest, most logical voices out there. Okay? And in my space of geek fandom culture, I represent my part of that as well as my part in the larger human equation. But while I'm at it, I want to give a shout out to those voices that I probably need to show respect for, that I've listened to over the years. And I'm talking about the brother of Logic and Common Sense, his channel, very powerful channel there. I think of all the people out there, he probably interacted with David Carroll more than anybody. So shout out to the brother of Logic and Common Sense. I've listened to Mumia Obsidian Ali. I've listened to Angry Man. I've listened to Tommy Sotomayor. I've listened to, there's so many that's out there who are going hard, who are really, really trying to bring another level of consciousness to the people. Whether or not you agree with it, whether or not I agree with it, these voices are important. These are the things that I talk about on my videos. How important it is that the people have a voice. All people have a voice, regardless of race or gender. Because right now, what I see is the narrative is really turning into a dictatorship. People want to tell you what the truth is. But every individual has a different truth. Every individual has a different perspective is a better way of putting it. I think ultimately there's probably only one truth. And that truth is that we are born, we live, and we die. That is the truth. All right. So David Carroll's journey is not unique to him. One day as creators, and this is why I said this is important for all creators. And I've said this before, as creators, we need to know that one day that last video that we do will be our last video. Okay? So it's good as a reminder when you see situations like this, not just David Carroll, but all of us in turn will take that journey. And it's good to remember every time you see that one day it will be your last video. So we all think about that energy that we're putting out into the world. How are we being received? We can't just be loved by everybody, but are we being felt? Are we being understood? As much as we can control, which is not much, but it's a useful reminder to all of us. It's like I always say, death is for the living. It's for us to contemplate and to ponder. And that's what this video has been. All right, guys. So once again, this is not one of those videos I expect to get a lot of, views for and everything, because I know a lot of you don't know this brother. But like I said, it's really not about whether or not you know him. It's the message for all of us. the legacy that we leave is something we should think about every day. It's not morbid, it's just real. All right, guys, so you can get in the comment section. You can let me know how you feel about this. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Catch me on Twitter, catch me on Odyssey, catch me on Rumble. And if not, I will see you on the next one, guys. Thank you for listening. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on. And not only that, I will leave you with the words of David Carroll, the way he used to close out all of his videos. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Rest in peace, David Carroll.